Oh my God, hello.
Hello. How is everybody today? Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk.
Yes, with your hosts,
Wendy Stuart.
And Tym Moss.
And thank you for joining us at PANGEA today.
Yes.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am so fabulous. I am 60 and loving it.
And we had a fabulous party for Tym.
She did. She organized this amazing party. Another one over the weekend, and it was wonderful. Everybody came out. We had such a wonderful time. It was so much fun.
So much love in that room that day for you, because
lots of laughter.
Tym got cheated because of the pandemic. Didn't get the huge birthday party that he's going to have next year.
Yeah. And actually, I was searching for venues, and now with today's guest, I might have one.
Oh my gosh!
We'll talk to him about that.
Absolutely.
But how are you? How was your week?
Oh, my week was really great. I loved having the party for you. However, tonight is the flower blood moon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
It's not to be confused with flower drum song. It's a flower blood moon. And no, haven't you noticed weird things are happening? Things are jumping off of shelves and doors are slamming. And I don't know, mentally just trying to get the thoughts together and right. So if our thoughts are all over the place today, please bear with us. But you know what? It won't matter if our thoughts are all over the place today, because we have an incredible guest.
Absolutely. This man, I swear to God, there would be no New York City nightlife right now have it not been for this man. He is so entrenched in it. And
you talk about somebody with such an incredible background in New York nightlife, and then stepping out on a limb 8 months ago, knee deep in this pandemic, and has this idea that he's going to do a club. You might have been to some of his parties. He's done tons of them. You might have been to Westgate, which was fabulous. But without further ado, let's welcome Frankie Sharp.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey guys, how are you? Oh my God.
Good. How are you doing?
How's it going?
You're looking gorgeous.
Yeah, you look great. Oh my God, we're all virtual. Woo!
But soon we can be in person to do this, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely.
Soon we can be in person.
So how are you doing?
I'm good. That's such a loaded question. I'm
right.
I'm in very good spirits. I'm a bit chicken with my head cut off, but I'm good. I'm just sort of moving with the current, and I'm in great spirits. Yeah.
Frankie, the fact that you came up with an idea, and of course we want to hear everything about you, but to be doing a club and your concept came up like knee deep in the middle of this pandemic. What were you thinking?
I wasn't really thinking, I guess, weirdly. It was, so me and my partners, Bob Fluitt and Alan Pikus, we were shopping for spaces way before the pandemic was even a thing. I think this was August 2019. We were talking about opening a club. We started venue shopping. We found a venue and sort of quietly went through the community board after we found the space that we loved. And we did everything sort of secretly so no one could get in our way. And we found this place. We signed our lease at the end of 2000. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We found the space, got our license 2019, and then signed our lease shortly after that in March 2020. We're supposed to sign our lease. And it was March 8th that the lease was supposed to be signed. And then I think March 10th, the world fell apart.
They shut New York down on March 12th. I memorized the time. I can't. Yeah. Weren't you like, absolutely, I'm going to be crude, shitting a brick when that happened?
I don't remember what I was feeling. My partner was telling me that I was like the most frantic he'd ever seen me. So that's what he remembers. I don't really remember much of it. I remember thinking, this isn't going to last that long, right? Right. But I think when things started to settle, probably by like the first week of April, I realized, we're not going to see the return from this until 2021.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
You started seeing behavior from people that was just crazy, that just seemed like irresponsible and crazy. And I'm like, oh God, this is the beginning of the end.
Wow.
But I was hopeful. It was a really nice time because I had been doing this for the last decade in New York, and I worked 5, sometimes 6 nights a week around hundreds of people, and it was the first time that I was able just to be still and try to seek some peace and retain some calm, and that was really nice. And we were monitoring how the whole thing was unfolding, my partners and I, and the landlord came back to us and said, I think this was at the end of this last summer, look, I think the industry is going to return. The space is still available. It's either going to be a TGI Fridays or it's going to be you. So, and I felt it was my duty to not have another TGI Fridays in Times Square. So we said, let's do it. And so I've been in there since September under construction. And here we are. I think we're 4 weeks away from opening.
It's unbelievable.
Honestly, I really feel that you're ahead of the curve on this.
Yeah.
That you were planning it beforehand. And then again, it hit. And I remember thinking, oh, this can't happen to our society.
Yeah.
We can't go into like a total lockdown or anything. And that's exactly what happened. And it lasted a lot longer than we thought. But again, once the clouds started to clear a little bit, you already had a space prepared and it was still offered to you. And that's wonderful. I think, again, emerging on the other side of this, you already have the solid foundation already there.
Well, you have the 10 years. Frankie, how do you stay so focused? I mean, because another thing, all right, the 10 years that you've been producing events in New York, I came out of the 70s and 80s and the whole thing that clubs are dead, blah, blah, blah. New York is never good. And I never believed that because, I'll go on a dance floor anywhere. But what do you think it is about you that lets you keep this kind of focus? It's amazing.
I have a very intense affinity for nightlife and show business.
And us too.
It's an addiction, as trite as that sounds. It's a fully unhealthy obsession with New York, with nightlife, with artists, with performers, with different kinds of performers. It's also, my duty, it feels kind of in the universe, if you want to have a bigger conversation about cultivating and fostering and nurturing our ever growing culture. So it's just not one thing, not one note, not one demographic, because our world is growing. And so it's important for nightlife, especially New York nightlife, to champion that reflection. Absolutely. I think that's really, really important. And there's so many of people like me doing it, but we just need more and more of us to keep doing it. So, I'm focused because it feels like my bigger job that's bigger than me that I'm not really doing. Does that make sense? I almost feel
totally. It's you're talking now about using energy, about your gut. And about your instinct and just about moving forward based on that. And for someone with your creative energy, that is really, to me, the only way that you can thrive and prosper and really have an effect on the world at the end of the day. I read about like your first 9-to-5 job and probably your only was a disaster. Mine was too. I know. Right. So could you, take us back a little bit,
I visited New York for, the 100th time, May 2019, and fell in love with my friends who were all here, who moved from San Francisco, which is where I'm from. And all of my friends who I knew from New York were DJs, performers, artists, rappers, musicians, whatever. And I really fell in love with that late 2000s New York scene. And that scene was very mixed. And it was a little more mixed than it is today, in the sense of like it was straight and gay together, but it was more about a New York experience versus a gay straight experience. Does that make sense? So it was really romantic to me and mind blowing. So I just knew this is where I needed to live. So then September 2009. I remember because it was September 11th and 2009. And my friend said, hey, do you want to come work at this showroom being my assistant? I run this fashion showroom. And I said, yeah, of course. He was like, you know, fly out, you have a job, just find a place to live. I quickly found a place to live. I got on a plane September 11th because the one-way ticket was really cheap. And
I wonder why.
I got here. I know, maybe that's a little dark. But I got here and he sort of lied to me. It wasn't a fancy assistant job for the showroom runner. It was like an assistant of an assistant of an assistant that got, you know, coffee for, you know, screaming salespeople.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
It was shocking because it was really superficial in a way that I just didn't like it. And also I had just moved here, so I wanted to go out. So at that point in time, I would drag myself to work because on Mondays I'd have to be there at 9 a.m., which was really intense to me. And I was just getting home from Van Damme at like 5 a.m.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, it was really difficult. I literally physically couldn't find a way to balance my affinity for nightlife and a 9-to-5 job. It just didn't work. And then when I was fired from that job for being perpetually late or habitually late, I was fully shocked. I was like, how dare you? But then I'm like, in retrospect, I was like, wow, yeah, of course I should have been fired. That was a messy time.
So basically your 9-to-5 job was totally getting in the way of your life.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you know, this is a good point. It wasn't working for you, and the powers that be, right? Sometimes the world speaks to us, the universe speaks to us, and you know, you were being moved on to where your passion and your heart belong.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've carried in my life is that, and maybe it's a little delusional at times, but there's moments where when there's friction in life, I do realize it's growing pains, and I do realize that I'm
right.
If I'm following the correct current, I will get to where I'm supposed to be, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time. For better or worse. But yeah, it was really, really challenging in the beginning because also that job paid nothing, and to live in New York was incredibly expensive. And, you know, going out was incredibly expensive. And so it was really difficult. I remember crying to my mother being like, I think I made the wrong decision. Why am I here? New York is now it clearly is my home. But at the time when you first lived here, there's like a weird period where it tries to kind of fight you out of it, to make sure you're supposed to live here.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that's
to see if you've got what it takes.
Yeah, it weeds people out. Tim, how old were you when you came here?
I was 21, I think.
Yeah, I was 21. I was from the Bronx, so I cheated a little bit, but I had to go away to school. But I remember being rejected by every single model agency, getting not let into Studio 54, feeling like a total and complete loser. And I had a roommate that would try and overdose on pills like every 6 weeks. And I lived in a shitty apartment over a liquor store.
Right.
I moved into my apartment with nothing but a piece of foam mattress and I think $200 in a suitcase.
$200. Wow.
Yeah. I think I had enough money for the plane ticket. I think I had like maybe like I thought pretty well. I think I had like $600 or $700 that I thought would get me by for a month or two. I think it lasted a day or two.
Yeah, right.
You know, getting lost on subways, going the wrong direction. You know, like people are really intense. It just was an intense experience, and
it is.
Broke for years until I figured out how to just do what I love doing, which is throwing parties.
Right, but you found a way.
Right.
And you found that way, like Wendy was saying before, with your instinct and your intuition.
Yeah.
And so and from a spiritual sense, you keep that. That works for you.
Yeah.
Trust it and just continue moving forward, using your instinct and your intuition.
I'm curious, Frankie, what was your upbringing like? I mean, were you a child, or please share that with us?
Yeah, my upbringing is really funny. It's one of my favorite stories, actually. So my mother is from the Philippines. My father is an American sailor, and she was working. I mean, the story is kind of funny, and it always changed when we were little. When we were little, my parents, how they met. And my father would say, "Oh, your mother's family had a fruit stand, and me and the sailors really liked her melons." And as a kid, I'm like, "Oh, that's so nice." Mom had a fruit.
I like melons too.
And then, and we would ask them the story around Christmas always. I always remember the Christmas story. And then another Christmas, I guess years later, still a young kid, probably like 7 or 8. Oh, tell us a story about how you guys met. And my dad was like, "Oh, your parents had, or your mother's family had a fish stand, and me and the sailors really liked her tuna."
Oh my God.
And even then, as a kid, obviously I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But what I did realize was like, wait, these are 2 different stories. So
melons to tuna?
So my parents are not the most politically correct individuals in the world, but they certainly have a sense of humor. But so eventually, when we were adults, and my dad was a little tipsy off of, spiked rum during Christmas time, we asked him the real story. And really what happened was my mother was a dancer and entertainer at this place called Lorraine's in the Pussycat Club in Manila, where my father and his sailor buddies were stationed during Vietnam. And that's where he met her. They frequented her nightclub. And after having me, I spent a good chunk of my really, really young childhood, like 1 to 4 years old, in these bars. And so, the smoky environment of like neon flickering lights and school beer and, chlorine,
the way it smells.
Like all of it is in my DNA. And so, which I didn't even realize until years later, why I had such an intense draw to nightlife. It was beyond my obsession with arts and entertainment and performances and getting people together and bringing people together. But it reminded me of my home and my parents and the sensibility of how they loved me and took care of me. Oh. And I was also surrounded by really dynamic, interesting, powerful women and some trans women. And this was when I was a baby. And that really shaped so much of my sensibility forever.
Yeah, there would be a certain element of comfort.
It's almost like a crystal ball was showing you the future, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So when did you, well, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, well, I was going to say, and what I realized as a kid, I was really, really blessed my parents they didn't really edit much in my life, meaning if I liked something, they wanted to give it to me. So, when I was a 9-year-old, I was really obsessed with Madonna. So they were like, whatever Madonna album, whatever Madonna sex, like I think I was 10 or 11 when I got the Madonna sex book. So it's crazy. But I always had a strange kind of crystal ball, like you said, gateway into the world that I knew I was supposed to be a part of years before I was a part of it.
Yeah. Now, so when did you discover your talent for the arts or music? And well, you were saying like Madonna, you enjoyed Madonna, and like because I always find it interesting how someone kind of finds their way into DJing, and because that's so artful. To keep a flow, of different styles and different music.
I think, gosh, Madonna really did set it all off. I remember this is such an embarrassing story, but I'm going to try it out.
We love embarrassing.
Yeah, we love to embarrass. It's great.
I had this, I keep looking at my phone because I'm having like 1,000 emails about the venue right now. I had this pajamas, like silk pajama set that was like a button up top and a pair of pants. And I had cut out a tank top and I made 2 construction paper cone bras and taped them on the tank top. And I'd put that on and I'd cut out little slits in the pajama jacket and I'd put it over it with the cone bra coming out. And I would perform the whole concert, 2 hours, for my babysitter.
Get out!
Yes.
And like knew every lyric, every dance move. And even when she was like vamping and talking on the microphone between the songs I knew. So I was giving this really intense drag show when I was like, 10 years old. And at the time I didn't know what I was doing. At the time I was just having fun. But in retrospect, I was creating costumes. I was learning material. I was, I had weird sets that I would move around. So I was already kind of producing when I was really, really young.
Yeah, and you were learning choreography, learning songs, learning to sing.
Everything that you would be using later in your life, which is, again, there's that crystal ball again.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that the more that I'm talking to you guys and realizing it is when I was doing that, when I was playing pretend as a kid, all that stuff was very sort of reactionary and just kind of fluid. Like I didn't think about like cutting out a cone bra being like, is this weird? Are people going to understand? Should I do a different bra for this audience? You know what I mean? Like there was no filter. So I just was like kind of moving with intuition. What I'm realizing now is in my experience in producing anything or performing or DJing is I'm most successful and I get the most positive reaction when I'm not thinking about anything. When I'm just
my God. Like we're on that page. We're all totally on that page.
I've tried it the other way where I'm like, how do I manipulate? What's that?
It doesn't work for me one iota. But it took me, you know what? You discovered it a lot younger. I screwed up so many times by listening to what they
said. Me too. Yeah, I still do it, like I still and especially, it's a big reason why, I know we're going 1,000 tangents, but it was a big reason why I decided to take the leap and open this club with my partners because I had to have these, Hollywood producers, I always call them, that were telling me the studio needs this. The studio wants more white material. The studio wants more, whatever. And so I always had to manipulate my vision in order to fit in this thing, which at times the challenge can be exciting and interesting, and other times it could just be straight up stifling. And so it was important that in this venue that me and my partners had a collective idea of what the zeitgeist was currently and how to reflect that in our programming, our aesthetic, our design, and all that stuff. I'm going on so many tangents. Where are we?
We're all about tangents. Oh, you don't want me to hold that.
Go ahead, because I've lost it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean I lost him straight up. I'm on a tangent too, but you mentioned your partners. Here they are.
Partners, yes.
On the cover of Get Out magazine. Go ahead.
Just real quick, because with your partners, from what I understand, and they're more coming from the business side, and you're more from the creative side. Obviously, they know what you can bring to the table, but in a way, personally, I think everybody kind of has to stay in their lane and allow each person to do what they're good at.
Yeah, partnerships are very new to me. I'm not a collaborator really at all. I've tried it and it's very, very challenging because I'm very stubborn when it comes to creative. But what I'm learning with Bob, so Bob Fluid owns all of the Boxer locations, and they do very well, very successful in business and numbers. But his main business, that's Bob. That's Daddy. His main business is building construction and architecture. So he built and designed me and my designer, Jason Caddick, designed the club aesthetically. We put everything in there from our intellectual property.
Wow.
We designed it.
Fun.
Bob really made it all come to life. So if I was like, I need a go-go shower in the bathroom, he'd be like, I can do that. I need a wrought iron cage over here with a floating DJ. I can do that. I need, a steel catwalk mezzanine. I can do that. And so he really made my dream come true. And also, he's a brilliant businessman, both in the building construction, but also in everyday at Boxers. So I'm learning so much from him from just a business point of view. And also his general disposition in business I'm learning a lot from too. And Alan comes from a world of Alan Pikus comes from a world of nightlife. There he is. That comes from the same world as I do, as in New York nightlife, but he comes from he does a lot of like house music parties, a lot of circuit parties that he does, and he does his demographic really is in the Chelsea Hell's Kitchen arena, where I did a lot of like downtown Brooklyn, and across the country and whatnot. So collectively, what he does with his demographic and what I do with mine really comes together. To fill a room is not going to be a problem. And also, it should be pointed out that this was Alan's idea. Also, he was the one who found Bob and then found the space and then called me and was like, I have this space and we're looking for this space and we need a creative partner. We can frankly choose anyone. Have you ever thought about opening your own club? And I think without a second, I was like, okay, let's do it. We didn't do too much research on who they were or what we were planning to do. Again, it was more sort of like intuitive, sure, whatever, fuck it, let's do it. Yeah. And then as we started moving along, learning more and more from each other, we found our harmony. And so here we are.
It sounds like a perfect collaboration.
Yeah, a nice triangle of
in
people
terms
there.
Of one of the things that's happened in club life in the last 35 years, it has become very polarized with, a lot of it had moved to Brooklyn. There were different scenes, and the LGBTQ community really polarized, different groups not feeling comfortable. I guess my question is, in terms of your own vision, do you want to see something like just more global, more organic, where the whole thing comes together?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
No, that's great. We're here.
I touched on this a little bit in the beginning. I think that's my general idea for the world. And so it's my general idea for the Q, right? So, I'm one of the, I hate sounding like that, but I'm one of the rare producers that, work with the Vogue ballroom community, that work with like really serious house techno DJs, but also, pop DJs, hip hop DJs, and also producing cabarets and live music, from rock bands to jazz bands to big bands to all these things. Like all of that is in my repertoire. So if you put all that together, the audience will come to be. And that audience, again, is just the New York audience, right? Like we all kind of moved here for theatrics in a way, whether it's fashion, whether it's hip hop, whether it's voguing, whether it's, being a club kid. It's all theater, right? It's all drama.
The drama. We're here for the drama.
We're here for the drama. That's exactly it, right? Yeah. That was my long version of saying exactly that. But it's I've done wonderful, amazing cabarets that have featured, a mix of different cultures, genres, demographics, and I've done, I've DJ'd at the Cock until 4 a.m, and I've thrown huge raves. And so the Q is basically the brick and mortar for those things. Right. For a combination. Yeah. And so I think we'll find it's everybody. And I think also, in a way, as maybe backwards as this sounds, the pandemic was really good for us as humans. I hate to say that because we lost so much, but it was it was good because we were away from each other for so long.
Right.
I don't want to just see the people that I always see. I want to see everybody. I want to see every New Yorker possible. And if I could find a home for everybody, then that's, I think, the ultimate goal. Right?
Absolutely. Well, you're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our amazing and incredible guest, the one and only Frankie Sharp, right here.
Yay! At PANGEA.
And we're at PANGEA, which has always supported the arts. And now during the pandemic, it's our turn to help support them. So there is a GoFundMe. You can go and make a donation to help out PANGEA here, who is now getting back on their feet.
Yep.
And they're open, I think, 100 capacity.
Yep. And featuring cabaret performers. They're having jazz here. They're going to have Broadway. I mean, it's going to be what it was. And it's incredible. We've made it through the storm.
Now, you were talking, because like spiritually, what you've said all along is your intuition and instinct of bringing not just straight people or gay people but just kind of bringing humanity together. And now you've got an actual venue, a space where you can do all of this. You've got a variety. Can you talk about the actual space, the actual venue, which is called the Q?
Yeah, the Q is, it's smack dab between Hell's Kitchen and Times Square on 8th Avenue. And so where it is geographically really started to dictate what we were creating. So I don't think I'm going to give too much away if I just say what we're doing. I'm trying to be strategic, but okay. So,
well, what you can, tell us what you can.
I don't care. Let's just give it.
Oh my God, we're getting the whole shebang. Thank you, Frank.
So there's basically 4 floors. So the first floor is our cabaret floor, right? And so it's like you walk in, crystal chandelier, black and white diamond floor, gold bar, a couple of stripper poles. It's very 1950s, 60s, Copacabana, Goodfellas, frosted banquets, curtain drapery, a couple of art, little nods to Al Hirschfeld. The whole thing is my love letter to New York from top to bottom. The floor is my affinity for the romantic old New York, right? And I'm talking like Sinatra, but then we go to Liza, and it's just cabaret. And I plan to always have to implement our band. We have an in-house jazz band, an in-house big band, and I really want to incorporate all of our drag performers and our cabaret singers to use live music, to use live bands, whether it's a piano player or a full jazz trio, because I think that, I love that, and I think people really want that visceral feeling too of those kinds of performances. So then that's the first floor. The downstairs is the basement. We have a full kitchen, which we'll start doing late night.
Wow.
And then we'll eventually start doing brunches on Saturday, Sunday as well.
Nice.
And then the second floor, I call it the Cock Goes to Japan. And so it's like a cruisy kind of labyrinth lounge. And it has little like nooks and crannies where you can meet some new friends or take your old friends. And it's a cool little hangout. And there's like some go-go cages, some platforms for dancers to be in, another DJ there. Every floor has at least one DJ booth. Some have 2 to get multiple soundscapes. On that floor, there's also a secret room that I'm calling.
Yes.
It's behind this tufted wall. And my partner is texting me.
I hope he's not telling you to shut up.
Oh yeah.
No, he's not.
We were just on the secret room. Tim's at the edge of his seat on the secret room.
So there's a secret room which is hidden behind a black leather tufted wall, and inside I'm calling it the Gentle Thems Club. So it's essentially like a queer cave instead of like a man cave. So it looks like my apartment. So it's like neon signs and samurai swords and like a couple more stripper poles. You get your own private bartender. It's like a cool sort of like speakeasy whiskey bar vibe. It's really cool.
So it's kind of a VIP-ish type of room?
It's going to be either spillage from, over spillage of the crowd if it gets too big on a Friday, Saturday night, or Thursday, Wednesday, whenever we have big club nights. and it'll be the green room to the third floor performer, perhaps, or it's rented out for VIP. I mean, it's going to be it's so many. Every room
multi-purpose. Yeah.
And then the third floor is a 22-foot ceiling, 33,000 square foot nightclub.
Love. That's really, really incredible.
God.
So you could go and have, it is incredible. I mean, you can go and, have a martini, see a beautiful show, right? Or a funny comedian or a brilliant cabaret star. And you can be like, actually, I'm going to go make out with someone upstairs. And then you go to do that. And then after you're done,
and then
and then after that, you're like, oh, I'm going to go and dance the night away and sweat my face off. And then maybe I'll go back to the second floor. Maybe I'll go back to the first floor. And
I love it. It's one-stop shopping.
Absolutely.
One-stop shopping.
Great concept.
And I can also see a wide range of age. Well, actually, Evan Lawrence just put, is there a focal age?
Is there a focal age? Like, who are we focusing on?
Is it, because I could see like on the first floor could be like an older crowd coming in for a cabaret show, and
that's right. Not really.
You got your horny gay people running around, and then
let's not stereotype here today.
Well, I mean, right. I mean, horny gay people go from 21 to whoever. You know what I mean? Like that's a huge.
That's 10, 60, and I still fall into that.
I'm ageless. I love. There's not going to be these boundaries, which has been existing for so long. I love what you're doing. It's something for everybody.
Yeah, and that's really the idea. And the idea is once you're there, there's really no reason to leave, right? And look, that's my perfect scenario of how I would like things to flow. But we're gonna have to tweak it as things go. Maybe the cabaret grows bigger, maybe the clubs grow bigger than the cabaret. But the great thing is that we have the ability to keep shifting it along with what our audience wants it to be, right? Because this has nothing to do with me. This is like for you all. This is for everyone. You know what I mean? And the people are going to dictate what the cue is going to be. And so
and also, I mean, the timing.
Yeah,
we're just coming out of this pandemic. Everybody is looking to getting back out and socializing, dancing their asses off, having a good time, finding the party, all of that. And it just sounds like, I mean, I can just see this place packed all the time.
I can too. And not for nothing.
God bless you. I hope so.
The whole thing with, and we're both in the city. For me, hauling out to Brooklyn, and I do, with a $30 Uber in each direction and coming out of a club at 4:00 in the morning, and there's 25 Ubers out there, and I can't find mine, and I'm drunk. That is not a pretty picture. It's not. And you know what? Thanks to you, I'll be able to get home easily. Heck, I can take the bus up 10th Avenue if I want. Thank you. And thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll take very good care of you anytime you guys come.
We'll be there. We will totally be there. I am fascinated going into your Instagram and seeing your sword work, that kind of thing. No, because you know what? That's an aspect you have an intense personality. It's amazing. That's an aspect of it. Tell me your connection to the sword.
No one's ever asked me that before, so I'd have to really think about it.
I'm really out of the box here, but no, I guess
no. I really like that question. I have to just think about it. Well,
why that?
A couple of knee-jerk thoughts is I didn't think my job in nightlife could be a job. Meaning, I didn't think that, sure, I like to sing, sure, I like to DJ, sure, I like to bring people together, but no one ever taught me when I was young that could be an actual thing that I could make a living from, right? So I never believed in myself enough in order to make it happen, really, until really, really recently. I was like, oh, I can make money, I can make a living, I can support myself, I just got to believe that it is for me. I do deserve this, right? And in a weird way, sword wielding is the same way. It's a thing that I've seen that I always found really sexy, really romantic, really powerful, really magical, really ancient. And I always thought I could never do that. That's not for me. That's for the people who can do it. Until I was like, or wait, or can I just be the people that can do it? Right? I know that's a simple general thought.
No, it's just, it's interesting.
So I just like bought a sword online and signed up for classes. And again, that was, you know, at the beginning of March of 2020, super excited to go to my classes, and then everything shut down again. And then I couldn't go to the classes, but then I was like, YouTube. So then I taught myself on YouTube, just like watch people play with their swords on YouTube and mimic them until I got it right. And it became a meditative thing for me. And it also became something that felt like mine, that I could control as well, right? And I think that's maybe that's like the antithesis of meditating. It just felt good to me. And it was very important to my alone time. And it also allowed me to escape a bit, because again, you're playing with something that is magical and ancient, and it feels extreme. I mean, imagine what it feels like, I guess, shooting a gun. I've never done that before, but you feel like you could destroy something if you wanted to. And that's a really nice feeling coming from a place that feels a little controlled or whatever. But
it's powerful. It's powerful.
It is powerful. And it's kind of weird, which I like, and it's really nerdy, which I like. And also when quarantine started, I didn't really know what my content was supposed to be, right? Because instead of posting flyers and pictures of go-go boys and drag queens and DJs, I didn't know what I was gonna post. And so I think I posted a picture of a loaf of bread I made, and I think I lost a bunch of followers. So I'm like, well, that's not good. So so then I started just playing with my sword in the forest, and then I brought my swords to Fire Island, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. I'm gonna just keep doing this. So that is my long-winded story of my origin of me playing with swords.
I love it. By the way, we have Mo Bakud in the chat, major nightlife person. Mo, thank you for watching. She's
hi Mo.
Hi Mo. Hi Mo.
It says it's a great interview.
Yeah,
I love it.
Really cool.
Well, you're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our incredible guest, the one and only Frankie Sharp.
Yay! So Frankie,
and one of the owners of the new club, the Q,
which is
going to be opening up here in New York.
We're all going to go to.
Do you have a date yet for opening?
Yeah, kind of.
Sorta.
Are you kind of aiming around Pride-ish, or?
We're kind of aiming around Pride-ish. I'll say that.
Okay, yeah.
Wow, that's so soon.
Yes, that is in less than 4 weeks.
Can you put me on the guest list? I'm there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we essentially have programs, clubs, everything solid, ready to roll out.
Wow.
It's just a matter of, will we be ready to turn the door knob, to open the door?
Yeah. Right.
And then we're there every single day from like morning to night. So I don't think there's a reason not to. So we'll see. Wish me luck, but I think
you're gonna do
fine.
great.
And by the way, Jim Silvestri is here.
Hi, Jim.
Love. We love Jim.
Much love. Absolutely.
Jim is amazing. What Jim has done for the nightlife community, and certainly during the pandemic when everybody had to go online. I mean, let's face it, we've been through a storm. I love how you've come out on the other side of it. But it is interesting because I also looked at how you used the pandemic, and you used it. All right. And everything that you knew and did suddenly came to a crashing halt.
Yeah.
As did for many of us. Many people just fell apart at the seams, and that's understandable. I'm emotionally damaged from it, but I use that to propel myself forward and come up with a whole bunch of new platforms. And because of that, we will all be on the other side of this. And that's what we have to do. Yeah, and we'll be together. That's right.
Now, one question I have for you. Now, you have, I've heard through the grapevine that you've had some celebrity investors.
And I forgot about that. Yeah.
You were looking to drop that.
Yeah.
Today, I think. Yeah. or release
sure, I can talk. Yeah, I can talk about it. I wasn't really supposed to until I think just of yesterday because we had to make sure everyone was good and signed and ready to go. But yeah, they're aside from Bob and Alan, of course, as my majority partners. These guys have been friends of mine for years. A couple of them family to me. So it was even sort of difficult broaching them with the topic of will you invest in this crazy thing that I'm doing. But our investors are Billy Porter.
Oh, wonderful.
Jake Shears from the Scissor Sisters.
Oh, of course, Jake. Yeah.
Zachary Quinto and Charlie Carver as well. So basically, it's like almost the cast of Boys in the Band. But
so great.
It's pretty amazing. And they've all come to my events for years. Billy's very close to my partner, and that's how I met him. That's how we became family. And Jake I've known for decades probably. And yeah, I mean, the boys all collectively are just an amazing group of New Yorkers, artists, performers, nightlife lovers, and I mean, celebrity or not, as strategic as that could have been, they're just brilliant New Yorkers who we share the same ideology with what we're doing. So,
yeah. I love the, I guess, ideology of just trying to create a fun space for New Yorkers to celebrate.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's it. Yeah.
It's very much like what Studio 54 was.
Yeah,
it was people from all over, of all different persuasions.
Yeah.
And you know what? As you know better than anyone, it comes together on the dance floor. There's a quote that I took from you that I love because I believe it. I know Tim does. A dance floor to me is the ultimate place of worship and celebration of life. Let's all put that trauma on the dance floor and leave it. The divine will manifest itself from our open hearts, and it'll manifest itself onto the dance floor. And
absolutely.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So dramatic. Oh my God.
Yeah, but we love drama.
But you're spiritually dramatic, and I love it.
It's true. I mean, I really, really, really feel that way. I think oftentimes we're told that guilty pleasure is not good for whatever reason, but guilty pleasure to me is just being unhinged and allowing yourself you can touch the divine by harnessing positivity and getting on that right avenue towards the divine, but you can also touch the divine by completely losing yourself and completely opening yourself. And I think that's what it sounds so trite, but that's what a dance floor is. It's what engagement.
No, we're so ready for it now, Frankie. All of us are just so ready for it. I mean, I will never minimize what this pandemic was. It's still, when I think about it and say, how could this have happened in the world? In the world, not just New York. We've had many tragedies, but this is like to emerge from this. Who are we all going to be? How are we all going to connect? What is our tomorrow going to be? That is up to every person here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to hit that dance floor and just let go.
Me too. I really need to get to that place. I need to get to that place when I stop worrying about every little thing on the way there.
Right.
I'm just dreaming about opening night on the dance floor, hugging my partners because everyone loves it and it's going to be amazing.
I'm going to be a little selfish with the next question. I listen to all the electronic European DJs. I'm very into that music. Paul Van Dyke. Do you have a roster of DJs yet that you can share with us, or not yet?
Yeah, sure. So our big club nights are going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we're doing doing a big kind of tea dance into a club night on Sunday.
Great.
In the sort of in that lineup, I have Nita Aviance, who's one half of Perry Nation, who will be one of my residents for one of those nights. Who else do I have? We have DJ Nandy. Johnny Dynell's gonna guest for us.
Love Johnny.
DJ Pat from Brooklyn, who is like my baby, such a sweetheart, so talented, and another DJ who really, or another person rather, who really did the pandemic right, which was brilliant streaming content, you know, safe distance productions from him on his end, and also just like really crafting his craft. DJ Mazerbay, who is very close to me, someone I love, that's going to be with me all the time. Who else? Who else do we have?
I love it. That's quite a list.
Yeah, really.
Quite a list.
And we'll start to roll that out probably the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
yeah. Now you're singing. You're a singer. I mean, there's so many aspects to you, and you and your creativity. You're just walking creativity. I love it. Just one second. I'm sorry. I had something come up on the computer. Tell us a little bit about your singing. I mean, can we expect to see you grab the microphone and step out on stage here?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, me right now says maybe. I'm sure like when I have a couple of glasses of wine, probably. But I don't even know if I'm going to be DJing at the Q. I've sort of, in a way, I say this now and I'll probably change my mind, but I'm so focused on the artists around me and giving them the stage, and not that my singing would take away from anyone's stage, but it's about the productions that I'm cultivating and curating and nurturing. But who knows, you know?
What I might suggest is with the house band, have a couple songs always ready with them.
Well, do you guys know a singer, Richard Cortez?
I don't know Richard.
I know the name. I can't.
He does amazing Saturday nights at Club Cumming. Go see him.
I know who that is. That's where I know the name from. Yeah.
He's really, really talented. So he's going to be producing and music directing my in-house band as well as his own Thursday night band. So he already was like, I'm going to get music for you, Jake, Emily. Anytime you guys
always have a couple on the side, so that way they can say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Frankie, come up here, sing a song."
Frankie, not for nothing, you have an incredible voice, and I'm not, and that's not bull. I mean, it's just there. When I listened to it, and I said to Tim, "Damn, this guy is like bursting. It's like disgusting." And I'm sure you're going to tell me, of course, you never had a voice lesson in your life. It's just there.
Not really. I never had a voice lesson. But I sing a lot in the shower, and I had a whole year and a half of just. I found myself when I'm most anxious in life, I'm singing something, right? Like whether I don't.
Yeah,
so this year was very anxiety riddled. So I think I just sang a lot. And I think my favorite thing to do, which would be drinking a bottle of wine and singing in the bathroom because we had great acoustics. And that was only entertainment for a year and a half.
But also, again, you're just being using your intuition and your instinct to do what you feel sounds good, and it does, and it works.
That's really, really nice. I think to go along with the common thread of intuition and authenticity and sort of like reactionary behavior is I never would sing before I started this cabaret called Mary back at Club Cabaret years ago. I wouldn't sing before because I wouldn't sound like the Broadway singers and the singers auditioning, the singers in Hell's Kitchen. I didn't sound like those guys, right? But I sounded like me, so I was really afraid to sound like me until I just wasn't afraid to sound like me, right?
Yeah, right.
So, and then what's the worst can happen? Oh, someone says that sounds crazy. Okay.
Exactly.
Nobody can judge you in the shower. That's what
Absolutely. Well, I've been judged in the shower.
I'm so sure in your case. That's a whole other shower. Shower judging.
You're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your host, Wendy Stuart Tym Moss, and our fabulous guest, Frankie Sharp. Now, I'm just going to breach this subject, and I'll let Wendy ask you the actual question, but the Stop Asian Hate.
Yeah, I mean, in your case, your mom's Filipino, dad American. I'd like to get your perspective on what's been going on from your heart.
That's a tough question. It's a tough question. It's a question.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because moving to Hell's Kitchen, it seems all of that's happening over here, and it's or at least the last few really intense incidents have happened a block away from my house. It's something I've always experienced my entire life, so wow. I think my first sort of knee-jerk reaction to people's allyship about it was I was like, oh, that's cool, but where were you this whole time? You know what I mean?
That's actually understandable, but you just said something that I was surprised at. You've experienced it your whole life. I would have never, that's something I would have never expected, and I don't know why. Maybe maybe all of us live in our own bubble, in our own perception.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I can never speak from the experience of a Black trans person who feels, discriminatory behavior against. I can't speak on anyone's experience but my own. And my experience as a half Asian gay man, or gay creature rather, it's always very challenging. And if it's not challenging, it's very present, right? Like, I never ever want to say or declare victimhood in anything. However, it's much easier for my white counterparts in my industry or any industry to get by a little easier than me. And in that thinking, I always had to work a little bit harder. I always had to sell myself a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I had to use my innate strengths and turn it into something I could monetize. I took my eccentricity and amped it up because at least I'd be seen in a different way than a non-white person. I don't know. That's a whole nother show.
It's a whole other show, but you know what? I'm glad we talked about this here because what you just had to say was very enlightening. And again, we all have to hold these thoughts moving forward. Certainly,
and we have to have the conversation.
Right. We have to. It's important to have the conversation.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I'm devastated over all of these incidents that are happening to Asian people, but Black people, trans people, people, women, people who I'm not shocked by it, I'm not surprised by it, but I'm devastated. I feel a little hopeless over it, but I don't know. I don't really know what my final thought on it is. It's a fact of life that's always been there.
Well, we just put it out, we just put it out there, and that's what it's about.
And once again, pick up this week's edition of Get Out magazine and the article that was written by Eileen Shapiro.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got our buddy Frankie Sharp right there on the cover. Yay! For the Q, the new nightclub that's opening up very soon, like within the next month or two. And so everybody in New York, be sure to come out and support and just leave all your troubles at the door and go in and have fun.
And we have a great comment. Hold on. From Nick Lyon from Icon. Wonderful. New York needs more spaces like this. A throwback to clubs were the premier place to be safe. My God, I can't think of anything better. Have fun and party with people of all genre.
Yeah.
Best of luck, Frankie. Sounds yes, thank you, Nick.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Now, how can people find out more about you and find out more about the Q?
You can follow the Q, Instagram at QClubNYC, and you can follow me at Frankie Sharp. Yeah.
At Frankie Sharp?
Yeah.
Or Frankie Sharp on Facebook.
That's all easy. Easy peasy.
Sharp without an E.
Sharp without an E. That's
no E. Okay,
there you go.
NYC. Thank you, Chauncey.
Oh my God, Frankie, I could just chat with you for hours. You are so.
Yeah. You also, pardon the pun, you really bring a lot to the party.
Yeah.
On so many levels, and I don't just mean clubs. And I agree with Tim. I could chat with you for hours. Thank you for what you brought to the show today. Really.
And thank you so much for what you're bringing to New York City.
Yes.
Yeah, you're bringing the party.
Yeah.
It's very, very, I do not take compliments well, but it's very, very, very nice. And yeah, like I said, this is for you guys. This has nothing to do with me. This is for everyone else. So I'm happy.
Honey, we will be there.
We will be there.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, Frankie Sharp, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time right now.
Yeah, really. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to our wonderful audience who tuned in today. Yes. And Frankie, as you know, this will go on YouTube where people can watch it. I want everybody to watch it because you're doing something nobody has done in a long time. And you're doing it at such a pivotal time. We need you. New York needs you. Yep. Mwah! Thank you.
Thank you.
These Walls Could Talk with Frankie Sharp. Yay!